And we are back on Spirit Connections. I feel like I'm kind of in the dark today.
In the dark?
A little bit. With my busy shirt, my busy top.
I like that. It's very pretty.
I keep on looking at it. Welcome, everybody. My name is Tiffany Rice, Spirit Medium, and a very good friend of mine, current ongoing guest, Miss Necole Stephens, Spirit Medium. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Good. I'm so excited to have you back on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Good.
And I didn't even break anything.
Not yet, though. I'm looking at not enjoying the lighting tonight. I'm going to tell you that right now. I just look pale and blah, but that's okay.
It's winter.
Okay. It's winter.
And at least the snow well, actually, I like the snow. Do you like the snow?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. I just don't like the polar vortex. Yeah. That's the trending topic, polar vortex. It's a little
Twitter.
bit on Twitter. For all you Twitter followers, the polar vortex. Yeah,
that's right.
I don't like it. I like following what's trending, though.
I do.
What's your Twitter name on Twitter?
My handle. That's what it's called.
Is that what it's called? Oh, like your Twitter name is a handle?
Yeah, I just heard that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Neither did I. It is at Necole Stephens.
Do you follow me? I think I follow you.
I do.
I'm at Spirit Tiff. Pretty simple. Well, I know you guys are probably wondering why Nicole's back on. Because I love having her on. And she drives all the way from New Hampshire to come to our studio here in Wareham, which is a few hours away. But I wanted to have Necole on because we wanted to make a special announcement, and we figured we'd start it really early on because I'm just so excited, and that's why I kept on posting about it. Like, oh, we have a special announcement.
What is it?
Yay! Well, I already told.
Oh.
It's going to be a long show, so just bear with us. That's why I love you.
You know what? The table threw me all off.
I know, we walked in, there's no table.
No.
But okay, stay focused. Back to the announcement. The special announcement is going to be that Necole is actually going to be an ongoing guest per month. She's going to be a monthly guest, and I'm so excited because we always have that connection as far as we're always on the phone talking about, okay, well, what's next? What's the next chapter? What are we going to do? And we've done some vlogs together, video logs. Obviously, she's been on Spirit Connections, and everybody always wants to know so many different questions, whether it's our medium work, whether it's grief. So I thought she would be a good asset to Spirit Connections to come on and offer some enlightening for us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
And we'll have all different topics.
All different topics. We're going to be doing some readings. So not tonight. We're not going to do readings tonight, but
each month we'll have different topics on, different things, and
exactly.
whether, it's grief or mediumship or intuitiveness.
And I'd like even some topics. I mean, we're always looking for suggestions, guys. So
yes.
if there's something that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about yet, whether it's again like how do we cope, how do you handle grief? What are particular signs that we can expect when we hear and see from our past loved ones? Right. Anything that you guys may have, get those questions in. You can actually ask them now. Our chat room's open. So get into that chat room, ask some questions, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Yep. Or you can go on my Facebook page or yours, post them there. We always check it. I try to get on there more often.
I catch myself going on to your page a lot because Necole and I have an event coming up this Friday. We're doing a mutual gallery reading at my office in Pembroke.
And it's live in person.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know. So it's actually in person. I've had a lot of people ask me, they think it's online. And
well, you do a lot of online courses.
Right.
So that's why.
Right.
But yeah, it's in person. There are some tickets available.
Yep, it's in Pembroke, Mass. And you can go to my website and register.
NecoleStephens.com and register for that.
Right.
But it was crazy because when I was looking at the comments, a lot of people had asked, where is the event going to be held? There's so many people that are out of the country.
Yeah.
Right when I saw Edinburgh, Scotland, I said, oh, if you're going there, I'm going with you. I would love to go.
The first place I'm going is Australia. That's kind of on my bucket list.
Well, that should be easy.
My fear of that is a 14-hour flight. So I'm like a little ambivalent about that. But if I leave the country, that's where I'm headed. And I'm afraid of the spiders over there, I'm not going to lie.
They're supposed to be ginormous.
Yeah, like as big as us.
Yeah.
They drive cars and stuff over there.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. There's actually a paranormal event going on in Australia. I forget when it is, but yeah, it was the first time I heard a lot of Jeff Belanger, who does a lot of legend trips with myself, and Bob Murch, I should call him. They're going to be going over to Australia to do a paranormal event, so it's kind of neat.
I heard it is so beautiful over there.
Yeah.
That is one place I will go. I mean, there's many places that I'm going, and there's still more that I'm adding to my list as I go, as we get them scheduled. But Australia sounds so beautiful. I mean, there's so many beautiful places. There really are.
Can you imagine that? I also even thought, like, what if we went on a cruise to do some gallery readings? That was something that I thought about a couple of years ago. But it's definitely the sky's the limit, right?
That's right.
I love
Help
it.
as many people as we can, spreading the light.
Now, I think it's funny because a lot of people we know, a lot of our mediums, they'll do the gallery reading separate. And we both do separate gallery readings.
Right.
But Necole and I sometimes like to work together because I think we offer a certain dynamic. One of it is actually listening. We listen to each other. We don't over talk each other when we do our gallery readings, which is nice because sometimes we can channel in on the same person at the same time, but we just have to kind of respect each other's boundaries while one talks, the other listens, and so forth. So, I mean, what do you think as far as doing the gallery readings? What do you think? Let me ask you this. How do you feel working with me with the gallery readings?
I love working with you. Yeah, I like that.
That's it. I love working with you.
I love working
Smile.
with you. No, I really do. I love working with you. I think that, we work really well together and we complement each other. So I think that it suits us when we do them together. Like I can't work with every colleague that I have because some of us have, very, very different reading styles. Some of us have more similar, but I really think that our styles can complement each other. So I think that we're a good team when we do it. You're always quirky, which is always a good time.
And you say whatever's on your mind, so it's good. It's all good. Yeah. You know what? How did you get started doing readings? Well,
geez, I've been doing them for a while. You just caught me off guard with that. How did I? I actually started online. I was afraid for anyone to know. I was very shy about it, and I used to offer online sessions for $25, and it would take me longer to type it than the actual session because I'm not a really great typist. And so everything was through online, or if you had an appointment with me, it was through referral only. And so I was doing it that way, and it just kind of expanded and grew through the years. But I used to sit there and type and connect, and so it was just completely different.
To how it is now and how much you've grown.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember, and this is especially if anybody's looking to open up themselves intuitively, go to your local metaphysical shop. I know I went to Uplifting Connections in Bridgewater. It was fantastic for me because I was able to join a medium group. There was a weekly group, and it was just a bunch of people. We were all at different levels as far as being intuitive, and we'd get together and just kind of hone in on our abilities. But
I never did any of those things. I wish I had, but I didn't. So it was a little bit different for me. I did a little bit of those, but I never really did anything consistently.
Well, I think it would have been different. I mean, for me, it was so readily available at that. I mean, I lived in Bridgewater. The shop was in Bridgewater.
Right.
So I was constantly going to the shop. But if you don't have the access to it, you might not have that type of opportunity.
Right. So it was a little bit different for me. I wish I did have those resources back when I started. So it was very different.
What are some of the techniques that you use to kind of hone in on your ability? Like, for instance, I know when I first started, I used playing cards, just like a deck of cards.
That's what my grandmother always did, was a deck of cards, and that's how she read. And I used to use those in the beginning. I would use tarot cards once in a while, but what happened was I kind of separate mine. Not everyone does, but when I would do an intuitive, that comes from my spirit guides. When I do a mediumship, that comes from spirit, a loved one in spirit. And so I had to learn to separate them because they were kind of a little bit conflicting for me. They were overriding each other, kind of.
Yeah.
So I started to separate the two of them. And basically, I had to learn how to separate the two, and then I started saying, okay, I'm going to not do the intuitive, or I would actually ask prior, like, when our session first began, do you want anyone, do you want to know if somebody comes through? Because I was so shy. I still am actually shy, but I was so shy in the beginning. And usually they would say, okay, but they wanted to know more about their future, or vice versa. And then spirit just became stronger and stronger, so I just kind of went with that, and it took over.
And let me ask you this, because I can talk about my experience, but I want to hear about your first experience about giving a one-on-one reading in person.
I don't remember.
I mean, even if it wasn't, like, I can remember, it was even before I was it was technically my first reading on someone. I actually took some courses to hone in on my ability, and that's what they did. They said, all right, you and you, let's pair up. And I can remember just first things coming to my mind, because that's what I was told to do. Just go with your gut, and it's your first things that come to mind. And I remember thinking, like, okay, red truck, V-neck, gold chain, Lewis.
See,
and that was it.
I didn't really do those things, though, so it was a little bit different.
Right.
I just kind of, whatever information I was receiving, I would say it and literally sit there going, holy shit. Like, I didn't know if I was right. Oh, I always do that on
here. You always do. Well, it's because
if there's small children around, please put earmuffs on or headphones. Earmuffs. So I just started conveying the information that I was receiving and just, going with it. And when they would say it was accurate, I literally... I would get so excited. I still do. I get so excited that, that's
our human side, Like, we want that human side of us to kind of come out and be like, oh my gosh, like, that's what I mean. Like,
it's amazing.
I said those, like, 3-4 items, and the person sitting across from me said, that's my uncle. And I said, what do you mean it's your uncle? Like, those are just images. And she's like, no, that's my uncle. And then from there, you learn to ask more and learn to trust more. Right. But I'll never forget that time, like that first initial when someone made that connection. And I thought, oh my gosh.
I still have that when I have a session.
Yeah.
I always
it doesn't
say,
get old.
No, and it's like every session that I have, it's like I'm a little girl at Christmas. And I just go, yay, like, I'm so excited for you, like, I just get so excited at the messages and so happy for them, for my clients, for receiving those messages and knowing, that their loved ones are around them and bringing them a little bit of peace and comfort in that. And so I get so excited.
Now,
like, even when I say it, I get really like,
because
I love it.
Making
I
that
love
connection,
reading.
You're like, ah. Now, how would you handle, because I know lately, I've been getting a lot of newbies. A lot of people, it's their first time ever speaking with a medium.
I would say the virgin.
Yeah, spirit virgins.
Spirit virgins, yeah.
Yeah, so, that was you. Usually it's me dropping the mic, but it was you.
I'll just slowly pull it up.
Okay. So, I know a lot of times with newbies, they may or they may not. Okay. They may or they may not. How do I want to say this?
Understand the
and
session or what their expectations are. I'm actually doing something in Washington, the state of Washington, in April, I believe. And one of the things that we are incorporating is a section of this, of explaining of what the expectations of a session are. And the first thing I would say is go in with no expectations whatsoever.
Yes,
Leave
no
all of your expectations at the door. You know, whatever you're hoping happens, just leave it at the door. Go in with no expectations, expect nothing, hope for the best. And you know, when you are at a session, the things that will come through, it's not 1-800-HEAVEN. So the information that comes through, it's all on vibration, and we're doing the best that we can to, you know, I always say, Spirit's up here, I'm over here, you know, and we're trying to connect here and bring each other together. And so it's, you know, really important to understand that it's not a direct phone line, because often people think that it can be, you know, oh, so your loved one, you know, says, how are you doing today? And it doesn't really work like that.
Right. And it's funny because I always refer to it as a book. I said it's not like it's a book where I'm just reading the pages. It's almost like a puzzle. And it's a box of puzzle pieces that you just dump on the ground and you start piecing them together. And it, you know, usually with a puzzle, you do the corners first. So you have to kind of do the outline, and then eventually everything will start to fit in together.
Right. And they know all. One of the big questions that I get asked or told often, I shouldn't say questions, but statements I get told a lot is, they don't know them, but they do. They know everyone. And so if they're acknowledging went out to lunch with so-and-so yesterday, it's their way of acknowledging that they see this and they know what's going on. So they do give you other validating pieces of information, but they also will acknowledge different things that are significant for some reason or another. And not all of it makes sense right away. And I know for myself, when I've had sessions with colleagues, that you're in the hot seat and you kind of do like, whoa, like you're trying to absorb it all. So it takes a few days to process.
Right.
So I always have my clients either write, they're more than welcome to record, they don't always work, but they're always more than welcome to record. But then to go over your notes and to really process it and kind of go through each statement that is said, you know, and embrace that, because it takes a couple of days sometimes.
It does. I always say make sure you, whether you record it or whether you write it down, just go home and let it digest.
Right.
I get a lot of people that will say, excuse me, for instance, I'll let them know what Spirit is providing me, and they'll say, well, yeah, I mean, that does make sense, but I don't know if they would actually say that.
Yeah.
And that's when I say, that's when you just have to trust it, in the sense of, for instance, I did a reading, and I had brought up there was a reading that I did, and I brought up certain names, and they were all names in repetition, and the person said, well, yeah, that makes sense, that's so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, but I don't know if they would say that or not, even though that was her son and her grandson and her great-grandson. And I said, well, chances are, yeah, they would probably just want to acknowledge that. So
I'm just the messenger. I'm conveying what I'm getting, and you know, they will tell us what's important to them. And even though it may not be important to us and not what we want to hear, and that, hence why leave your expectations at the door.
Yes.
But they will tell us what's important to them, and that sometimes there's more meaning to what they have to say. That at that moment, until we do go home and we process that, we don't really understand the meaning, and I mean as a sitter or as a client versus the medium. But if I'm getting a session and Spirit's telling me as a client, we'll say, you know, information, maybe I don't understand it at the moment, but there's something really pertinent about that. You know, that person, you know, whether it's a friend, family member, whoever, that they're acknowledging may need help, may, you know, be reaching out to them.
Right.
Something may be going on in their life. Maybe they just want to acknowledge them because they really like them, you know, or didn't like them. And so there's usually, you know, more that goes around it. It's, for me anyways, it's not typically when I'm doing a session somebody very, very random. It can be, but you know, I never put a circle into a square, so I'll say, I'm not feeling it. You know, if they say it's, you know, well, that's, you know, 3 people removed or something, I'll say, no, that's not right. you know, but there could be something going on and we just don't know it right at that moment. You know, and
So,
usually once they make the phone call or they check it out and they find out so-and-so's having a baby and they just found out today, and then they go, oh, that's why they were acknowledging it, or they just got married, or you know, whatever the case may be.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. So that's why we always say, you know what, it's good to write all the information down or record the information and let it digest, because it will make sense. I mean, think about it. When you're anxious to hear some sort of news, whether it's from a loved one or just in general, if you're having a conversation with someone says, I have something to tell you, like, they'll tell you the initial news, and then they'll continue on usually how that news came about,
Right.
but yet you're still focused on one thing, and it takes a while for you to process information in general, never mind.
Right.
Your
And some of
loved
the
one in
tips that you
spirit.
can do as a client, or you know, going for a session with anyone, any medium, you know, is I suggest this. I always say, you know what, write down 5 questions. They're not for me. I don't want to see them or anything, but they're for yourself. So the night before your session, kind of, you know, focus on your loved one, ask them to come through for whatever they may. You know, you're open. You know, you've opened your mind and your heart, and you're willing to receive whatever information they have for you. And these are the 5 questions that I have for you, and write them down. And when you go for your session, you know, that little piece of paper is just in your pocket. Again, it's not for the medium, it's just for yourself, and you have the little questions written down, and you have them on you. And, you know, I would say 9 out of 10 times, those questions do get answered. They do not, at least for myself, I can only speak for myself on these, but for myself, they do not typically tell us where the hidden will is, where the hidden money is, although I have had some loved ones tell us those things, but most of the time,
Generally, it's something else.
it's not something that's really of importance to them, usually, unless you're looking for the will and they tell you, you know, it's on, I had somebody, it's the second drawer, you know, down, and here, you know, the paper's in there. But for the most part, it's really not important to them. They want you to know that they're around you, and that, you know, your connection is eternal, and that they love you. And so, you know, I think that's really important that that people understand that, because I've had so many people ask me about the lottery numbers.
That's
Like,
a common question. I mean, wouldn't we all want the lottery numbers, right?
I don't play the lottery, but
Yeah.
but they don't typically come through with that stuff. That's, you know,
Exactly.
not the information they come through with is the lottery numbers.
Well,
you
we
know,
always want
and-
information for our highest, greatest good.
Right, and they
Gambling
don't.
wouldn't be for our highest, greatest good.
Even though we may think so, they don't typically think
Right.
so. They also don't always. Sometimes they will. Nothing is 100% with any, you know, mediumship, but they don't really care who your boyfriend is. You know, I mean, they
Right.
may acknowledge that they like him, but I have often had, you know, people, not often, but I've had people ask me, you know, well, do they like so and so? Because I really want to go out with him. It's usually not that important to them. That's kind of
Right.
your journey and what you're doing. Or am I going to lose weight? That has to do with diet and exercise.
And have you had people ask that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually had loved ones in spirit talk about someone's diet. Like, okay, they notice the new you. They notice that you've been
Right. That's different,
you know,
though.
that,
But I've
that type
had
of thing. But I've never had anybody yet ask me, do they notice, you know, or should I lose weight?
at the end of my session, I always will leave a few minutes to just say, do you have any questions, that anything you want to go over? And I've had someone, or, you know, a few people talk about their weight. Well, you know, can you ask so-and-so if I'm going to lose weight, or when I'm going to lose weight, or if so-and-so who I met on whatever date likes me? So they'll ask kind of random things that is very important to us here, but to our loved ones, not so much. They like to acknowledge the other things
Right.
that are, you know, a little
Right.
more significant to us, even though they're super important to us. So those are the kind of questions that I say, and I try right at the beginning to go over this, to say, you know, these aren't really the stuff that they answer, you know, and then at the end, I also like to go over the things that they can do for themselves too, whether it's enhance, you know, maybe a visit during their dreams, or, you know, signs from them, which I'm having the free online seminar.
Which I think is wonderful.
Yeah. And so anyone who's interested, it's free. You can sign up through my website at www. I always say that, I don't know why, but NecoleStephens.com. And that's on March 19th. So we'll go over different signs and some signs and symbols.
Yeah.
You know, signs that your loved ones send you, and how to look for them and how to trust them and, you know, acknowledge them because they are sending them. So
that's one of the biggest things is trust. Even today, I got asked the question, like, I just need a sign, and I answered it. I said, they probably are showing you signs, but most of us have a particular, it's just like leaving that that whole motto of leaving the expectations at the door, because we, in our minds, think, okay, well, it's going to have to be either a butterfly, a dragonfly, a cardinal, you know, but it could actually be anything. I've had people share their experiences of frogs. Whenever time their loved one comes through, and it's a frog, you know. It doesn't even have to be an animal. It could be anything out there. The American flag, I've had that, you know, whenever time they think of their loved one who was very, you know, involved in the military, they'll notice a flag, you know, wherever they may be. So whether it is a spirit animal or whether it is an object, it could be anything.
And part of that has to do with trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition. I recently had, well, today actually, somebody had asked me about a situation, and they said, do you think so-and-so did so-and-so, you know, whatever it was. And my feeling on that is, because we're all intuitive, every single one of us.
Absolutely.
Trust that first instinct, because your very, very first instinct usually is not wrong. So trust it, and try not to go around, like, you notice when you go around asking every single person, do you think I should do this? Do you think I should do this? Chances are you're just trying to get that, because you're second guessing yourself. So that fear is already jumping in. And so you're asking everybody else almost to kind of give you the opposite, the opposite answer.
So you're like, oh, I knew it. And then you think, you're like, I just asked 7 people and only one person gave me that answer.
Right. So my original feeling had to have been wrong. And so when I was speaking to this person today, I just said, you know, what were your original feelings? And this wasn't a client, it was someone I know, but I said, what were your original feelings on it? Trust it. And then I actually showed them something to do with this situation that I said, well, if you do this, this is the outcome, we can try it. And we did it. And he said, oh, okay. So he knew that at that moment, his instinct was correct on what he was doing. And I said, that's why you have to trust your first instinct, that little feeling that you get, you know, it's really important. And it's the same thing with your loved ones, when you trust that feeling inside of you, because you know that that's your loved one sending you a sign. And nobody can tell you any difference, because you know it, and then other people will try to debunk it, and we often will even not want to tell other people or share it with them, because we feel as though if we share it with them, then they'll say what? That wasn't them, that was this, oh, it's a coincidence. And then you kind of feel like, oh, they just ruined my moment.
Right, exactly. And even when, I know we talk about the sense of knowing, what we mean by that is it's the thought. Say, again, if you're all of a sudden, for instance, this happened to me a few weeks ago, my grandmother who passed away popped into my head out of nowhere. She just popped into my head, and I'm like, oh, there you are, okay. And so at that moment, I asked her, I go, okay, show me where you are. My grandmother is infamous for showing me hearts. Anything is a heart shape. So, so I went into the store, and I walked out, and I noticed on the ground there was a perfect condensation of a heart. And so I ended up taking a picture, and I shared it. So if you guys are on my Facebook page or Twitter page, I did share it. But that's what we mean by the sense of knowing. It's if that person pops into your head, and you, almost out of left field, a lot of times that's them just trying to get your attention. There's no such thing as coincidence.
No, I don't believe in coincidence. Or you're thinking of them, and that song comes on that is, you know, really significant, you know. Or you can be thinking of them, and then, you know, going to write something, and you almost feel like somebody took over your pen or your computer.
Right.
And, you know, you just start writing, and you kind of look at it going, where did that come from? Or there's a lot of signs for something. I recently had a situation that somebody asked me a question, and I answered their question of what I felt. And then there were so many signs. I ended up reading a book shortly after like within minutes. And when I opened the book that I hadn't picked up in a long time, like since December or January, I opened the book, and when I opened it, there was an abstract. So I'm reading a little bit, and then there was an abstract on a word, and I go down to the bottom, and it actually spoke about or wrote, I was reading exactly about the situation, very similar to what we had just discussed. And so I immediately email her and say, okay, I just read this, like all these signs are piling up now. There's too many things that are happening, so this is the way they're getting their message across, that, yes, move forward with this. You should be doing this. Go, go,
right.
go. They want you to do this.
And why waste time on self-doubt? Like, don't doubt it. Just, I know, it's a lot easier said than done. Believe me, I can sit here and I'm a good preacher of, don't waste your time on doubting it. Have the confidence and, no, trust it. But I struggle with it too. I'm human.
It's something that's not tangible, and we're so used to the tangibility.
Mm-hmm.
We like to see things. We like to feel them. Even books. I know myself. I don't like a Kindle. I don't like
I don't
the
own a
Nook.
Kindle.
No, I like to hold the book. I like to touch it. I like to feel it. I like to write in the in the margins, and I dog ear it, and that's just me.
I love going into a little off topic, but not. I love going into Barnes and Noble just because I love the smell of it. I love the smell of books.
Really?
Yeah. And tar and gasoline. Okay, go ahead.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. And skunk.
I love
the smell of skunk. Yeah.
I love the smell of skunk.
Yeah.
I really do. Even when I was pregnant, loved it. But
it's so
that's like one of my hidden secrets, is that I love the smell of a skunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little tidbit.
Mm-hmm.
But so we like that tangibility. It's what we know. We don't question it. And the afterlife is something we question. So it's very hard for us to conceive it, for most of us. And we're taught something for so many years. And typically, we don't even talk about the afterlife unless something happens.
Right.
So whereas in your family or my family, we may have talked about it for years and years and had some knowledge of it, most don't really know that much. We know of heaven and hell, and that's what we know of it, probably to the extent of it. We know that there's a God and a great divine, and it's kind of, that's what's that. And then when something happens, when one of our loved ones pass, then we go, whoa, wait a second, what are they doing up there? And what's going on? And we become the spiritual gurus in some way, because now we're seeking and we want to learn and we want to know as much as we can, because that keeps us connected to our loved ones. So we're reaching for something completely out of our own realm, literally, and it's not tangible. And there's no, 100%, proof. There isn't until we do,
data.
And until we actually cross, we won't have 100%. No matter what it is, no matter how validating it is, how scientific it is, anything, there will not be that 100% until we cross.
Exactly.
So, it is. It's hard. Even for myself, sometimes messages come through, and I told you, I go, holy shit, whoa! Like I connected with a cat. I told you, I think, on the last show. I couldn't believe the information this cat was telling me, and I know that there's more. I don't question it, but I was still going, whoa, this is insane. This cat is telling me names. This is so beautiful.
And animals do connect, guys.
They do. They're souls, they're spirits, so they absolutely do. But it's still, our humanness jumps in and goes, whoa, this is insane.
Right?
Even whether we're the medium or the clients, we're still going. So.
It's never, and I've always said this, I'm never just like, oh yeah, that was just a reading. Like,
no.
I feel like I'm blown away with every reading. It's amazing.
My motto is the day that I go, another reading, I shouldn't be doing this anymore.
Right.
Or if I'm not excited or nervous, I get nervous. I know that some mediums don't. I get terrified before every session, before every group, before any, I
start counting and touching things multiple times.
That's because you're OCD. No.
OCD and my anxiety is crazy.
I just get really nervous, and my energy just starts to really increase. And another thing, actually, I was just talking about energy increasing. One of the things that we can do that sometimes when we go for a session, we can block it in some way because our energy is so high and we're just so nervous and we're just anticipating this and we're building and building and building. And so I like to explain that, spirits up here, they're way up here, and me as the medium, you as the medium, we're kind of right here. And when a client comes in and their energy is kind of up here because they're so nervous that their energy is through the roof. Well, Spirit's lowering their vibration. I'm raising mine so that we can connect. And then you have your client who comes in, they're so nervous, their energy goes way up here. This is going to override the whole session, because their energy is just taken over. And so that's why I think it's so important, to really try the best, which I know it's difficult to do, but trying to really just kind of have that no expectations and go, lowering your energy. I'm not going to shake it out today, but just don't have coffee before you go. Just kind of try to get to that place of a little bit
deep
of
breaths, guys.
Yes, deep breaths. And just kind of whatever happens, happens. And do you ever notice that even in a group, it's always the one who went there saying, no one's going to come through, that in their way in the back and. They're just
and you
kind
weed
of,
them out, and you're like, you over there in the back corner.
And they're kind of, playing with their phone or their nails and not even paying attention. And then, it's them. And sometimes the one that's like, you better come through, and they're like, then they don't get the session. And then they're really bummed out, and so.
Because it's always someone else. And for those of you guys that are tuning in, I always say, let me tune in. But for those of you guys that are tuning in right now, I have Necole Stephens on. Fellow spirit medium, like myself. I'm past, usually I do it halfway through the show, but I just checked the time and we're almost done.
Really?
Like the show's almost over, which is crazy.
No, are you serious?
Yeah. And if anybody's in the chat room, feel free to ask questions. I know I feel like I've been ignoring you guys at home, so I apologize. But
and don't forget to either email us, post on our Facebook. You can head over to my blog. I don't know if you do have a blog.
I have a newsletter. It's a free newsletter. We both
Okay.
have free newsletters that you can sign up. But
send us your questions. What do you want to hear about? We're here for you. We want to help you. You're what's important. So send us, the questions, topics that you want to hear about.
I'd love it. I would love it. And especially since Nicole's going to be joining us monthly, so I think that's great.
Yay.
I know. And plus I get to see you because sometimes we go, her and I talk frequently, in case you guys want to know. We're very good friends, so we talk a lot, but we'll go months without seeing each other. And I'm like, okay, seriously? We only live a couple hours away. What is going on? So I'm glad we were able to connect and schedule everything so our schedules can combine and do this.
And we'll try to do a topic, each month.
Right.
Some kind of topic. And kind of focus on that and give tips and whatever we can.
We'll do a cooking session. No, I'm just kidding.
A cooking session?
I'm
out of that.
I'm kidding. I'm not that great at cooking either. Although I bought a brand new vacuum cleaner today, and I felt like a domesticated diva. I was on the ground getting all the nooks and cranny of my place, and I'm just so excited. My next purchase is going to be a new microwave because mine is
I love to make smoothies. So
ooh.
Yes, I love smoothies. I like protein ones and green smoothies, and I love all kinds of smoothies.
That's something we can talk about. We can talk about what type of foods, because I've touched base a little bit before we do a reading. A lot of times, keeping a healthy diet is always good.
I convey that to a lot of my students. I mentor other mediums, and really, for myself, other mediums, it's fine whatever they eat and what works for them. For myself, I just know what I have to do.
And that's all we can really go on.
Right. So anything I ever say is just based on my experiences, but I have to eat very, very light and, vegetables. And I'm a vegetarian anyways, I don't eat meat, but, smoothies, just really, really light, very airy food. I can't have anything heavy sitting in there, not even cheesecake. I wait till after. And as you know, whenever I'm done with a group or even several sessions in a row, one I'm okay with, but several sessions, then I'm just starving. I can't wait to eat.
I think we all are. We're starving, we're exhausted. It's almost like a totally different vibe. It's a different energy.
It is. It's a different frequency that we're on.
We're completely...
Yeah.
Done. We're spent.
In the cosmos.
Yep. I love it, though. I love it. But yeah, we go through that because I know pretty much after every reading, or especially with the larger groups, after that, it's afterwards it's time for chow
Right.
time. Ravenous.
I know, I always get hungry.
I love it. And Swedish fish.
Yeah, that's my kind of...
That's your
during the-
go-to is Swedish fish.
Yes, I always have those. Although right now I have the Easter jelly beans, the blue ones. So that's what I've been kind of, picking on. But I try, during my days of sessions that I try to eat a little bit better, and I do the smoothies, and I really want a blend tech. Oh, am I allowed to say that?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a name of a smoothie thing. I didn't know if we're allowed to say names or anything. A lot of people have the Vitamix, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Am I allowed to say those things?
I don't know. I'm not part of that, so you...
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, I really want the blend tech, so that's like my new thing that I'm debating. Should I get it? Should I not? You can take an avocado pit and put it in there, and it'll smooth it for you.
Oh.
And I was talking about that with someone earlier today, that I really want one of these too.
Can I tell you, I did when I was on the vineyard, when I went to Martha's Vineyard, in the summertime, I did a bunch of gallery readings, and they brought me to a place where they had smoothies, and it had kale and carrots, and it was an amazing smoothie. And let me tell you, after my next gallery reading, after I had the smoothie, amazing. And I'm like, I need the ingredients because I need to have that.
And the trick of a great smoothie is a great smoothie maker. Because you really want it blended, it changes the taste of it. And I didn't think that it did, but it really does. It makes a difference on what you're using. And I'm sure your friend Susie will tell you that.
Yes.
That it does make a difference. So it's not as kind of grainy or sandy.
Yes, yes.
It really blends it.
Yes.
And I actually put spirulina in it now, which is the blue algae.
How is that?
Horrible.
Doesn't sound too good.
It really is. So I use pea protein and, my vegetables and fruit and whatnot. But the spirulina, I'm not going to lie, it's horrible. But it does help with your energy and all the good stuff. But it really is horrible. Oh so you can cut the taste a little with almond butter. My son Christopher will literally eat anything. Not joking. We've had frogs, anything.
He's a teenager.
Yes.
He's going to eat everything.
Yes, he will eat anything that you put in front of him. And I had a man challenge him to take a sip. I was like, just try it. Man challenge. So I actually...
And what did he say?
He took a sip and he spit it out. He was like, that's horrible.
Oh my gosh. But it really does matter what you put in your system.
Oh, absolutely. It changes a lot what you put in your body.
I mean, we're going to sit here and talk healthy, but, like I said 2 minutes ago, we were just talking about Swedish fish and...
Oh, anyone who knows me, I'm the biggest junk food junkie around. I truly am. So I work out every day, and I do eat healthy, but you put a cheesecake in front of me, I'm all over that.
Right?
I am. Cupcakes, I don't eat chocolate, but other than that, and I'll eat a little bit of chocolate, but it's not my thing.
Right.
But
I love chocolate. I'm a chocolate person.
I love cakes, cupcakes,
cheesecake. Whenever I go to Sugar Plum Bakery, they have little mini cheesecakes, and I always thank you. I think I took a picture and sent it to you once, but they're just like little self-serving cheesecakes, and I'm like, oh, Necole would love that.
All right, you're making me hungry.
It's so good. I know.
So I think a couple of things that we should have, do we have enough time?
Yes, I was just checking, and we do.
Okay. About intuition, though, is, really trust your first instinct, like to go back to that, to have people kind of leave with that, but to really trust that very, very first instinct that they get, that feeling. Because I think that we really need to spread that and share it with people. So many people ask, is it intuition? Is it fear? So we have this intuition, we get this feeling, and then our mind starts going, and then we put in every what if that we could possibly,
we basically ruin it.
We do. We ruin that whole little bit of information that we received, and we turn that into this enormous fear of something rather than, trusting it. And it takes practice, a huge amount of practice. But it's trusting those little things and starting to move forward with that little, I knew I should have done this. I'm going to follow through with it and following that. and taking that and going to the next step, you know, then you do it
Exactly.
again. And then eventually it becomes its own habit of you trust it. And of course, sometimes you're not going to, but.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where you have to just learn to get back to basics and trust. I'm telling you, though, it's very difficult if you don't start training yourself.
It is.
You know.
And do you ever find that, like if somebody is going to call, and I don't mean, like I mean for anyone, or you think of somebody and within a day they call, you see them, you know, or somebody is going to call and you just already know who it is. That's your intuition.
Right.
That is what it does. You know, it's not this big, you know, bam, like, you know, sign. It's these little subtle things that you kind of go, oh, I was just thinking of them yesterday.
And so many people will come up and say that, like, I get this all the time. And I said, yes, that's your intuition.
Yeah.
You have to learn to trust it and just go with it.
Or if, you know, you have 2 jobs and you know you want that one, you know, A. But then B looks so good, but you really keep getting drawn to A. So you ask everybody, should I do A or B, A or B? And you're just waiting for everybody to say B.
Right.
And then you're still like, but I really want A. You know, and I do it myself. I just was doing it earlier today. But, you know, I knew what the answer was. I just had to follow through with it.
Well, it's so hard when you try to get it on yourself. It's really difficult because you have your want and need, and sometimes you feel like your want outweighs your need, but your need will always come into play, no matter what.
And your higher self will take care of you.
Yep.
It will guide you.
So
And it's
tough.
not always an easy road. So.
No, that's what I mean. It's
Yeah,
so tough sometimes.
It's
just
definitely not. It's challenging and it's not easy, but it will guide you. And
Yeah.
sometimes it'll even guide us in a direction that we're thinking, why are we going in this direction? And we think it's completely ridiculous, and it's like one wrong turn, you know, changes everything, and it seems like we're kind of defeated.
right.
But that wrong turn really could be in our, you know, most likely is in our best interest.
Yeah.
And it's taking us the way we're supposed to go, but we just haven't.
And then we look at things in retrospect and we're like, I see it.
Exactly.
I see why I had to do this, that, and that, even though I was miserable, but now I'm where I need to be, and I feel 100% where I need to be.
And I don't necessarily mean with grief, you know, either.
Right,
I mean,
just
right,
in general. It could be anything.
Because do you get a lot of those questions as far as like, how do I trust it? You know, is this my intuition? Is it right? Is it fear?
I do. Most of the questions I get are because of, you know, they'll give me an example. Like I said, oh, I thought someone was supposed to call me. Like I was thinking of someone, I knew they were going to call, and then they ended up calling me.
Right.
What does that mean? So it's almost like they're looking for me to validate for them. Yes, that is your intuition. That is how you're supposed to feel. But you just have to go with it and learn to trust it. And like I said, it's one step at a time. It does
Baby
take a
steps.
lot. Yeah, it does take a lot. It's not going to be like, oh, that's it, and I trust it, and now I get it. Thank you.
And it still isn't.
It's something you have to practice a little bit, and then realize.
I don't think it ever, I mean, it could be, but for myself, it's not ever like that. I'm never 100% certain every single time, and I make a lot of, you know, choice B, but for whatever reason, I had to go through that experience to learn something or teach something.
Exactly.
And so it was something that I was supposed to do for whatever reason. And I usually end up back at A and
just try your hardest to be true to yourself, and that's
be authentic.
Yes. No
Follow
one's going to
the
know
process.
you more than you. So, exactly.
Following the process, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being on Spirit
You're
Connections.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm excited. You're going to be coming back in March,
am.
my birthday month. Yay!
Oh, she's an Aries. That's right.
Me. And also, if you guys are interested, again, Necole and I have an event, a gallery event, this Friday night in Pembroke, Mass.
And it's a small event. We're not doing a huge event. It's smaller, more intimate, you know, it's a little group for us.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a little comforting.
And both of us are going to be there doing the reading. So I'm really excited about that. If you're
You should bring
interested.
pastries.
Oh, I could. I can give Sugar Plum a call and see.
And Tiffany will be serving pastries.
Yes. I'll be like, hold on, Grandma's here. Pass me that cannoli. But anyway.
Don't forget the cheesecake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll get the cheesecake too. Necole, here. All of a sudden I have a weird accent. But you can definitely check it out. Go to NicoleStephens.com to purchase your tickets there. I know we have just a handful left, but there's still a handful, so go check it out. We'd love to see you. And yeah, if there's any questions or topics you want us to discuss on the next time Nicole's here, we'd love to hear it. So you can visit my page at Spirit Medium Tiffany on Facebook, or go to Necole Stephens, Reiki Master. That's your page on Facebook.
Yeah, Spirit Medium Reiki Master.
Reiki Master on Facebook. And until then, we will see you next week. All right, guys, have a good night.